Continuing completed classics. Fulfilling failed franchises. Reinvigorating reviled rehashes. It's the follow-up Showdown! With Paul Getz, Travis McMaster, and Lauren Picorni.
Hello and welcome, uppers and downers, to the follow-up Showdown 2 Nerds in Quarantine, where we give worthy second chapters to stories that don't have them. I am your host, Paul Getz. With me are my co-hosts, Travis McMaster and Lauren Picorni. Go ahead and prove you're here, guys.
Heyo.
Present.
If this is the first time you're joining us, the way it works is we take a movie with either no sequel or a sequel that is dissed and dismissed by its magically delicious predecessor, and each take a swing at coming up with a good, better, or best continuation. Our guest today is an exciting one. He is a friend and co-writer-performer of mine from college. He is now a licensed clinical psychologist. Last time I saw him was at a friend's wedding. Adam Hofbauer. Hey, Adam.
Well, a licensed clinical social worker, but we are all in the ring there.
Paul,
I wrote it down wrong.
Why even asking the guests beforehand if you're just going to wing it when you hit
You know what? It was a complicated answer. No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna retake that. No, I'm not. I'm just gonna let everybody know how much I screwed up. Sorry, not licensed clinical social worker. My apologies, Adam, and it is great to see you.
Yeah, no, I think I appreciate the running gag in the show of things you say you're going to edit out and then don't.
Those are usually Travis things, which I do out of spite. But another reason is it's exciting you're here is that it comes with a backstory. When we posted our first ever episode, Congo, Adam messaged me on Instagram stating that he already had a trilogy pitch in his back pocket for the movie we're here to talk about today, 1999's She's All That. So, let's start with probably what's the most important question we could possibly ask about this movie. Is she all that?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
she was already all that.
Agree. I agree that she is all that. Adam?
Adam pulled out a notebook, buddy.
I don't want to go over overly familiar territory with this movie. It kind of is what it is. It kind of lived in the zeitgeist for a second. And there's a lot. It's been talked about. There are some weird elements to it that I'm excited to get to as I found it to be kind of written by and for no one. But easy answer, yes. She's all that, but I have an alternative casting note that I think would have made the movie substantially better.
All right, well, that is very exciting. I'm going to ask that we table the discussion of the movie for just a couple more seconds to go over a couple other exciting things about today's episode. At the request of our guest, Adam, today's episode is going to, for the second time in our history, have a studio executive role. And that studio executive today is going to be Travis. I am very scared.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it.
One more thing before we get into the nitty-gritty here. I wanted to introduce a new segment for and by the listeners. We've had a few people write in with suggestions over the course of our episodes, and so I call this our listener log.
You sent something into the listener's log. Now let's check in on the listener's log.
I'm going to very quickly... What's that, Travis? What?
Where are they writing? To whom? Care of what?
They're writing to us on Instagram.
Oh, like comments?
Yes.
Writing.
Okay.
What's your problem?
I just feel like the context and framing is a little important there. No one's... Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do wish we had more of this, and so I'm sort of trying to encourage it as of today with this segment.
I'm very excited, so don't listen to Travis.
I've interrupted this bit.
So we have two from a friend of ours. I'm not sure if Travis and Lauren know him, but I know Adam does. Sean Gartner. As a response,
like today's episode, you may have some strong feelings about if you listen.
Yes, I sure hope so. I hope he's still listening. I know he's listened to a few because on our Meet the Fockers episode, he commented with title only pitch of Marry, Focker, Kill. which I thought was pretty fantastic. My initial thought for what that would be about would be possibly Robert De Niro's character Jack wanting to kill the Greg Fokker character as opposed to let him marry his daughter, something like that.
I'm gonna just kind of pull a Mickey Blue Eyes, and or Analyze This. I want to introduce a mob element to it somehow, and because I don't want it to be like De Niro going like, "Why, I want to kill you." I want it to be someone like screwing a silencer onto a gun, going like, "I'm going to kill Ben Stiller."
It could be the Owen Wilson character wanting to kill him.
Absolutely.
Because he's in love with Pam.
I was picturing it more of like a name. Like Kill would be spelled like Khil or Kihl. And it'd be De Niro's ex-wife who he was in the service with, but she kept his name, so her name is Mary Fokker-Kill.
That's
great. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But his name isn't Fokker. That's Ben Stiller's name.
Oh shit, you're right.
Get out of here, Lauren.
Okay,
his ex-wife.
Girlfriend's the name.
I mean, there's something.
We'll work it out, but that's a great pitch.
Yeah,
to mine from that pitch. Yeah. Another write-in we had in reference to the house guest episode came from a high school friend of mine, Charlie Schleiser. He wrote that he would like for there to be a premise in which the Sinbad and Phil Hartman characters accidentally kill or otherwise dispatch the mobsters that are chasing them. And then upon finding out that more mobsters are on the way, must them, for some reason, pose as mobsters themselves. And this would be called House Guest 2 in the Family, referring to the Mafia family.
Paul?
Yes.
Has anyone commented that I should be winning more often or that I'm good or anything of that nature?
There was like one post from like an account with just one post, and it was called like Travin McMaster.
So far, it has only been my friends writing in. But again, I'm doing this to try to encourage listeners. Please, if you like the show, if you have other opinions, even if you just want to say which pitch you think should have won, probably not Travis's, just write to us on Instagram at The Follow Up Showdown or on Twitter at The Follow Up Pod. And then the last one that I wanted to bring up was also Sean Gartner, who, in response to our Return of Jafar episode, suggested a runaway child prequel called Jafar from Home. So, yeah, nobody wants to muse on that a little bit more.
I've put all my energy into that sequel over the past 2 weeks. I have nothing left.
Fair. Okay. I mean, I think easy premise is it gives you a reason why Jafar is so nasty. Not that that matters, because he's too nasty to be sort of redeemable. Or just a problem child movie. Problem child with Jafar killing people instead of
I'd watch that. That's much better.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. In any case, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for writing in. Please do so more. We will put it on the show, and Travis will be nice about it next time.
Next time I will be nice about it, yeah.
Okay, so then moving right into A Minute with McMaster.
A Minute with McMaster.
Travis, are you ready to break down this movie in 1 minute?
Sort of. With that said, Adam, we do offer this honor to the guests if they want it.
Oh, yeah. I'd be happy to. Yeah, I'll do that. Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Well, here we go.
It'll be a good day.
History being made again. Adam, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Go.
I'm going to steal a quote from another podcast, which I won't name, but this is My Fair Lady with Narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe My Fair Lady with Morons. The jilted king of a high school in Los Angeles decides he's going to gaslight a powerfully artistic young woman into a position of power, which leads to a heated political campaign with only two candidates, in which ultimately the young man learns to embrace himself in a way that perhaps he wasn't expecting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, wow, you had all kinds of time left, but that is a very poetic way of putting out what is ultimately a very simple plot.
Yeah.
You could have Adam do all of the McMaster minutes. Let's have him call in.
The Hofbauer hour. We could... Awesome. Well, I'm trying to think of anything super key to note that wasn't in there. Their names are Zach and Lainey. Paul Walker plays his evil friend Dean, who he makes the bet with. I guess the bet wasn't brought up.
Well, that's implied in the My Fair Lady of it all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, fair enough. Well, so hopefully everybody's seen My Fair Lady. So yeah, I guess let's just get into talking about the movie. How did everybody feel about it back in the day or this time around? What do we feel?
I had never seen it.
Oh,
This was my first.
Hey, it's home run! I'm very excited to hear that.
So I wasn't sure what to expect. I liked it. It was fun. I really enjoyed the energy and the opening credits. The school from Buffy. So I had a good time. I like Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm just trying to compliment it a lot because I did get a little bored by the end. You know, it's what the movie's going to do, so to a certain degree, you're just kind of watching the clock run out. But I had a good time.
All right, this is very interesting. I mean, I had seen it a lot as a kid. It was never a favorite of mine, but it was a movie that I watched a lot. It was much worse than I recall. Watching it this time through. And sort of to Adam's point, this definitely did feel like a movie written by an old man trying to sound young and fresh.
The song that is Matthew Lillard's song in that movie, I kept expecting that to be a joke because I felt like in 1999, a 21-year-old, that wouldn't be his song.
Give it to me, baby.
Also,
yeah.
His name is Brock Hudson, which I feel...
Oh, yeah. I love that detail.
I have the origin of that name here in my fun facts. So the character Brock Hudson was named after a real-life student at St. John's School in Houston, Texas, the school where Rushmore was filmed, and also where screenwriter R. Lee Fleming Jr. went to school with Wes Anderson. And there was a student there named Brock Hudson, and the phrase, "What kind of name is Brock Hudson?" is evidently something that was said about him a lot at school.
So it's like a joke for three people.
Yeah.
I respect it.
I mean, it worked well enough. You all commented on the name.
I mean,
there's only three.
I was thinking it was a play on the actor.
Oh, Rock Hudson.
Yeah, but like a modernized version.
Yeah.
That's what I assume. So I guess it could be a joke for many people. They just don't get it the way they think.
Sure. I will say, of the things that still work for me in this movie, Brock Hudson works as a character to me perhaps better than he used to, and I always liked that character.
Oh, yes. Matthew Lillard, national treasure. All the things I took away from this is, of all of the people in this movie, he is the only person who is putting in what I might call a performance. He is present for every moment that he is expected to be. He is a working actor. I don't think it's any coincidence he's the only person in this movie to work with David Lynch.
I've never seen him give less than 100%, and that includes as Shaggy. And in this role, I felt like his was one of the few roles that worked all the way through. That character, in terms of that character's arc, who that character is, how that character affects the movie and the other characters, there was nothing about it that I would have cut or changed.
Absolutely. He's one of the few people that has, you're right, a full, complete arc that doesn't feel like a scene is missing. Mm-hmm. He feels natural within the strange universe, and his tone is consistent with it, which isn't really true of all the characters.
I loved that dance sequence that he does. But I remember as a kid thinking, that's just awesome. And now, as an adult, I have the even funnier read that everyone hates it. It's huge embarrassment.
I've seen this movie, I think once whenever I was maybe 11 or 12, and I didn't remember super much of it, but I did remember impressions from it that as I was watching, I was like, oh, that thing I remembered randomly is from this movie. Mm-hmm. So that happened a couple times during the film. Whenever the guy puts his pubes on the pizza. Yeah. I remember that scene, but I could never remember what movie it was from.
What a weird pube moment.
I remembered, I was like, I think Funk Soul Brothers in this scene, and it was 2 seconds later.
I have a lot to say about both of those scenes. The pube scene, there's so much about it that doesn't work for me. I guess what it seems like is going on is he is so. It seems as though they're scared of him, the bullies.
Yeah. But he's Freddie
Prinze Jr., which even if it was Paul Walker in that role, that would have made more sense. Paul Walker's like
Right. Which would work for the motivations of his character, because he would then have a chance to impress Lainey, and then Prince Jr. would feel like, oh, I should have stepped up and done that, but now he's because he's manipulative.
Yeah.
It also, tonally it doesn't make sense. It feels like it's out of Road Trip or something. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I felt more uncomfortable watching it than I felt watching any horror movie of the last few months. And it opens with a character with two unexplained hearing aids, roller skating around a cafeteria, giving people
fresh cracked pepper.
Ground pepper.
Yeah.
At least it serves a character beat, but it again makes me ask the question: who is this for?
Yes, and I don't know that it necessarily fits my old man writing for young people thing, but it does fit. It's just like I could see that it is just a gag that they thought worked in its own right, and thought it would just work for everyone, no matter sort of the context of it. And that you brought up a couple of points that I want to address. One that I will get into now just because it's quick, and then the other one I feel like is going to warrant some discussion. The writer's notes I have for this movie, it was written by, as I've said, R. Lee Fleming Jr. His other big movie writing credit is the film Get Over It, starring Kirsten Dunst and Cisco. But in 2013, M. Night Shyamalan gave an interview and claimed to have ghost-written the entire script. Fleming then came out denying this, and on the Blu-ray commentary, the director Robert Icekove clarified that Fleming wrote the initial script, Shyamalan was brought in after to punch it up, then Fleming was given the final rewrite to give his unique spin on it. The scenes added by M. Night Shyamalan were the hacky sack art performance scene.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Strong feelings about that scene.
Yeah.
Best character scene in the movie, in my opinion.
I agree. I love that scene. Also, the line, am I a bet? Am I a fucking bet?
Also.
And the entire father character, Kevin Pollak's character, came from M. Night.
Great character.
Yep.
Proving once again that M. Night Shyamalan is a very talented artist, and everyone can take a couple steps back.
And then the other thing that you brought up that I feel might warrant a little bit further discussion, what is going on with Simon? I am very confused.
Who's Simon? The kid. Kieran Culkin.
I think they keep it purposefully vague. I don't know if he goes to the school. I don't know if he has mental problems. And I mean that seriously. It's very confusing. I think you're definitely supposed to sympathize with him and think of him as sort of having a tough time socially, but I really wish they would have given some clarification.
I didn't think twice about him. I just thought he was a really quirky character, and Kieran Culkin, I thought, did a really fun job. I didn't question. As far as like the hearing aid, I was like, oh, that's nice for them to represent like that. I didn't.
Well, he's
think anything else.
From what I can see, he's younger than everybody at that school.
He's maybe the only teenager other than Anna Paquin played by an actual teenager.
Sure.
Yeah. He could be like a freshman, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. Maybe I just assumed he was, like an underclassman, or I don't know. You see a kid, you see a school, you move on. I don't know.
Everything he does, I feel like, is little kid stuff. He makes the drink with like a million ingredients in it, and my favorite thing is he gives him a high five with cheese all over his hand and says, "Mi compadre con queso."
I just sort of took all of that stuff and a lot of other stuff from this and Empire Records and a little bit Can't Hardly Wait. I always view as like sort of odd transition movies that still have a little bit of the 80s hanging on and haven't quite turned into like whatever Mean Girls and American Pie that we were going to be doing in the 2000s a little bit. So they it's straddling both, and it's sort of an odd mix at times, flavor-wise.
But I actually really appreciate that, because there's a class system that this movie borrows from the 80s, which in and of itself was kind of borrowing from the 50s, which I agree took until about Mean Girls to kind of taper off, in which it's like jocks, nerds, and everyone in between, and there's this strange kind of Eisenhower-era organization of high school caste structure that now that you mention it, yeah, it totally does dissipate over the next few years, but it does feel like a transition period out of those tropes.
Yeah, I would say both movies listed besides this, Can't Hardly Wait and Empire Records, work a little bit better overall than this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I would put Can't Hardly Wait at the top of this whole cycle of teen films. I think I was this movie's target audience. I think I was about 12 when it came out. I remember it playing on a bus to Washington, D.C. That fucking bet line sticks in my memory as just shocking an entire bus of 8th graders. It's probably the best use of a single F-bomb in any movie I can think of. It was really successful financially. It seemed to have gained some sort of foothold, even more so than movies that are substantially better than it is.
Yeah, I think it follows the sort of traditional rom-com arc a little bit more closely than those other movies we're talking about. So perhaps that's the audience for those types of things is what gave this movie that sort of extra boost and made it, I don't know, seem to be more memorable. But I do agree with you that it is it's nowhere near top tier in my opinion. And this time around, the reason I liked it so much less is one major thing. Zach Seiler, the character, his issue that he's having is that he can get into any college he wants. His dad says once, where are all the college admission letters? And specifically asks where the Dartmouth one is, but then goes on to talk about the other ones. And then Zach seems to turn this into a reason for him not to decide because he thinks his dad is pressuring him to choose a very specific future and he doesn't want that. But the way his arc comes together is very quickly in one conversation. Lainey says, wake up, you can go to any college. What are you talking about? And then he goes, okay. And that's his whole arc. Yeah. But my biggest problem with his character is that once everything is set and Lainey hates it, like the truth of the bet comes out, Lainey hates him, she goes to the dance with Dean, he does nothing. He doesn't.
No. Its biggest problem is that both of its lead characters are extremely passive. I don't think that she makes a single decision on her own through the entire movie. Everything is kind of, she's entered into the race for prom queen by someone else. She decides to go to prom because Paul Walker shows up. Her big character moment is off screen, which goes back to the fact that it really falls apart in the third act. And there's a lot of messiness and we're told things have happened without seeing them. But yeah, you're right. He does too. Both of them are characters who things kind of happen to. She has her art portfolio admitted to major colleges by a professor in a late throwaway line. They both sort of float around without a lot of agency. Yeah. And then people say, hey, you're great. We did this for you. And they both kind of react to it incredulously, as I suppose late Clinton era affluent teenagers would, by kind of going, oh, okay.
No, it's interesting because that you say that. When we watched, I was like really taken aback that, like, first of all, I felt like the Paul Walker thing was introduced very late, like the double cross. But I was fine with it. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going with it. But the fact that was wrapped up entirely off screen, that would have been, I guess, to your point, like one of the few things she did choose to do and did act upon, was described by her. She put the air horn up later to his ear when he tried to, I don't know how bad it got, but he tried to take advantage of her. Is that what happened to her brother? Did she McCulkin? She was pissed at him. Something. Well, my major hang up about Zach's third act activities are, it starts with Lainey yells at him in the hall and says the "Am I a fucking bet" thing and storms off. He then stands there doing nothing, saying nothing. And then Taylor comes up to him and says, pick me up at 8, lover. And then he acts as if, well, I no choice. Okay. Then he doesn't pick her up, which, okay, that makes sense. But then at the dance, she finds him immediately, says, I forgive you. And they start dancing, and they dance for the entire evening without him breaking away from her, trying to talk to Lainey, anything. Then Lainey leaves. Someone tells him that she leaves. And he goes to try to find her. He doesn't find her. Instead, he goes to her dad's house. And what does he say to her dad? Because when she comes home
and has already taken care of everything herself, her father and brother have forgiven him and love him again. So what could he have said besides,
Wait, but they hadn't just forgiven him. They had an entire conversation that was so boring, Culkin fell asleep while I guess Freddie Prinze Jr. was standing silently in the living room across from them?
yes,
This joins the long list of things in this movie that happen off screen that are far more entertaining. My favorite accidental joke in this movie is where some high school principal says, in the closest election results in the school's history, 56 to 45%. And you go, what? That's an incredible plurality, both in the sense that her whole coalition is hinted at to be, I think it includes the prison club and there's what looks like a drag queen on her button. And I think they imply that some sort of gay student union is behind her. So they're implying that the underrepresented or disenfranchised folks of the school have risen up in a populist uprising to support her, but it's still not enough, which makes me assume every year the school does this is they pick a dweeb to be there's only 2 candidates for prom queen. There's no other candidates for prom king. He runs uncontested. And then usually they pick one, and I guess it's usually a landslide, and that person is just embarrassed in front of everyone a la Carrie. But yeah, that line is hilarious because you're like, that's the closest it's ever been? That's still quite a spread.
Well, also, how big of a deal is prom at this school? Why are the teachers keeping track of what percentage of votes in the history of the school went to which candidate? That's insane.
Let me ask you guys something, because Lauren's infamously homeschooled, and I was too cool to go to my prom. So did you guys go to your prom? And if so, how much did it resemble this prom?
I did go to my prom.
I did not. I went in science too.
Nice. Great evening. I went to prom a couple times. It looked, well, because there's junior and senior prom.
No, I mean real prom, Paul.
So senior prom.
Senior prom.
Okay.
Not homecoming.
Fine. I went to prom once.
As we all do.
And it looked enough like this did decorations-wise.
Was there a king and queen?
Yes. There's always prom court. That is a thing, for sure.
Were they announced and crowned in front of you all on the stage?
Yes, but I mean, it wasn't, you didn't have to pay attention to that. That was, it's really, I mean, I always thought of it as like, that's a thing for the popular kids. That's the thing that,
It's kind of a classic example of a movie, which this is not a sin this movie is unique in, of everyone in the world being really fixated on the trials and tribulations of a select group of people for no reason. There's a freestyle rap battle about it. It seems to be the only thing on anyone's minds. I accept that as just a movie thing, as, yeah, this is what everyone cares about because these are the main characters and everyone in movie universe is kind of dependent on them.
Now, one thing that was not like this prom at my prom was the choreographed dance sequence, as mentioned before by Lauren, to Funk Soul Brother, which I had so many questions about. The few of which I wrote down were, how many people are participating? Was it coordinated by how many people? Who was invited to participate? It was very unclear to me because in some shots it looks like Lainey is participating, though Zach never is. In some shots, Taylor is participating, though, again, Zach never is. Then, most of the time, it looks like just professional dancers.
We've never. The main issue is it serves no character function. It is simply pump. Unlike the infamously stupid but still characterly serviceable hacky sack scene, it is nothing but spectacle. And it gives no one, there's no character beats it.
Agreed. Yes. And it serves no purpose in the overall story. And I do have the backstory on how that happened.
Oh,
so the director of this film, Robert Icecove, most known for also directing Boys and Girls, another Freddie Prinze Jr. movie, as well as From Justin to Kelly, and the TV movie Cinderella starring Brandy from back in the day.
Nice.
Okay. Fine.
So he was a choreographer and wanted to expand and embellish the prom scenes, but specifically wanted to prove to the Weinsteins, the producers of this film, that different ways in which musical numbers could work in films.
that's another kind of elephant in the room that I the first image of this movie is the Miramax logo, which is something that for me still hangs over the head of it and hangs over any possible production of any sequel. It was really hard for me to extract that from my mind, knowing that a lot of the people in this movie did it as personal favors to Harvey Weinstein. I'm not going to go in. I personally didn't research if any of the actresses involved have ever made allegations against him or anyone, but it did seem unavoidable to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
The names are going to come up, and I'm sorry to have been the one that brought them up. So the director wanted to prove to them that this musical number could work, even though they pushed back on it. He made it. Test audiences didn't understand why it was in there.
Regular audiences don't either.
Right? So to fix it, they created the Usher character. So Usher and all of his scenes were shot after the fact.
Oh my
As you can tell, it's up.
I'm so glad that came up, because as we were watching, I just assumed that Usher was like, yeah, I'll do your movie, but you only get me for the day. And that's why his scenes were all shot so oddly and isolated. Mm-hmm. It does make a lot more sense, though, that they were trying to fix the movie.
It doesn't make the dance sequence work. Even though Usher is part of that, it doesn't make it make any more sense. And he was another character that I had lots and lots of questions about. Specifically, does he go to class? He appears to spend all day in a basement in the school, just announcing the goings on of everyone's personal lives to the entire school all day. Because every time people are walking to class, he's talking.
Clearly, it's a reference to the Samuel L. Jackson character, Do the Right Thing.
I could see that.
Obviously.
Could be, yeah.
Although that character made far more sense. That's all I had. In terms of my research on Weinstein involvement, they were the ones that pushed back against the dance number, and they were overruled.
It was actually a bit of auteurism.
Yeah, really? Absolutely. From the director. Yeah.
It's a personal statement that doesn't work, but hey, good for him for
sure, he's still working
for it.
So a couple other things I wanted to bring up. Lainey's art. Do we have thoughts on Lainey's art? Anybody?
I love Lainey's art.
Lainey's art. Cool. Okay, got it.
Very cool.
I feel this movie has a strong philosophy on art that will carry over into my pitch. Art is the product of honesty, and that Lainey's arc is not one of being made over physically, but learning to be honest with herself. Her darkness is a cover for her true feelings, which it takes Freddie Prinze's Jr. character to reveal for her and give her the strength to reveal to others.
Wow. You are making this movie sound much better than it feels to watch. But I agree with you. I think that is absolutely correct. It's put very on the nose from her art teacher, who apparently has never liked anything she's done until this final project her senior year, which is what gets her to call all of the art schools that Lainey applied to and encourage that they accept Lainey.
Which we get no resolution
and also,
on.
But I don't know. I don't know much about art. I don't personally care for Lainey's art. I think there's other art in the class that looks a lot better. But specifically the one that gets her the recommendation, which is the one that she does for Mother. I'm glad for her that it is a personal project, but I don't think it looks like anything to write home about.
Well, everyone's a critic.
With the rules of the movie, though, the rules being that and here's where I believe that Freddie Prinze Jr. is a better artist than her, and that his one attempt at art is a honest expression of himself that also surprises a jaded audience and gives them something difficult to digest. But within the rules of the universe, he is a gifted artist because he is unguarded. He is able to reveal himself, and then afterwards is very excited and is very driven by a passion for art that ultimately, whether he follows it or not, is something that Lainey has to learn. She is, I think, presented accurately as someone who lacks the bravery to be successful as an artist. In
terms of that scene, the hacky sack scene that we've referred to a few times, who was the lighting guy at the art show? Because that guy really helped Freddie Prinze Jr. out. He gave him not only a light show behind him, but also a beat and a musical underscore upon which he could base a routine. I mean, not to say that Freddie Prinze didn't do something smart with his time, but that really, I think, gave him the boost.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for me. I guess I'm done hacking away at this thing. Unless anything anybody else wants to say about the movie before we roll towards the pitches.
I have one major note being I can make this movie much better by just switching the casting of Rachel Lee Cook and Clea Duvall. Just cast Clea Duvall as the art girl. Infinitely better.
See, I think Clea Duvall does such a wonderful job as the art bully. The way the bully's written is sort of like, what is this girl's problem? My God, she's psychotic. But she sells it. I mean, she is mean, mean, mean. I don't know that Rachel Lee could have hit those heights.
Well, there's a dream sequence set kind of in the video footage of the real world in which Rachel Lee Cook plays Freddie Prinze Jr. imagining her as a mean girl, and she's very effective.
That's true. That's a very good point.
I think I go either way on whether or not, like, I can suspend my disbelief. I know it's a movie thing, the makeover thing, in terms of whether she's obviously she's already attractive. I guess I just find Rachel Lee Cook a little bit flat as an actress. And I think the challenging the audience to see what might have been considered a less conventionally attractive woman, who's still a beautiful actress, go through that transition would have been really effective.
Clea Duvall would have very wonderfully sold the hard shell that we are told to believe is around Lainey. Like, that is the hardest thing. That's the thing that Zach first refers to as the thing that he will have difficulty with. She's inaccessible. And I think Clea Duvall would have done that very, very well. I will say, under my actor's notes, I have other actresses considered for the role were Lily Sobiecki, Mina Suvari, and Jordana Brewster. So I don't think they were ever trying to get away from, with the conventionally pretty actress. In fact, the writer talks about that. It was just sort of the Hollywood no-brainer. It was always going to be that way, and so you just either have to accept it or not. The only other actor who made it to the callbacks for Zach Seiler was Josh Hartnett.
I that makes sense. I feel like Clea Duvall would have done well in that role, but in a version of this movie where it was a little more serious. You know, they weren't going like rom-com. If they were going for more like a darker vibe.
Here's my question. She paints her face like a clown as she's passed out.
Right.
And then she leaves the bathroom and immediately walks over to a mirror and sees that. And then we're done with the bit.
And then screams. Then screams.
But like, it's just go wash it off. Like, she didn't even go through the whole party, like, schmoozing and get embarrassed. She literally walked out, saw her face was gross, screamed, and then I guess turned around and washed it off.
First of all, I think she was on her way out because she was stumbling hardcore out of that place. So really would have been embarrassing for her already. But I think she was about to head home. I think the party was done.
I mean, but even if she goes home, like, it's just a weird prank. And they could have staged it so that it had some, I don't know, actual embarrassment. I just feel like walking out of the bathroom, seeing yourself in the mirror. But
it's a prank. First, she was but people already saw her, already laughed at her. And it's high school. Those things hurt worse. And it was a prank that meant something to Lainey because she's the girl who paints clowns and Lainey's an artist. You know, I think it had layers.
All right, maybe
it was her exact painting.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which
really?
Which in a way was sort of an extra fuck you because it was saying to Clea Duvall, I can do what you do. I just choose to do my thing.
Can we swear on this?
Good detail.
Yeah.
Why are you asking that still? You've done this a long time.
As a joke.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so absurd that I, of all people, would be asking that at this point. As a
I
joke.
see. I'll leave that in, and we'll see how many people get it.
Yeah, write in on Instagram if you thought my "Can we swear on this" joke was funny.
I do have one more thing I forgot I want to say, because it was something I didn't notice until this time around. Gabrielle Union's character, who I wish I would have written down her name, I had forgotten how wonderful she is.
She's so kind.
She is the first person to realize that she's all that. Definitely. She doesn't like that Taylor's mean. She's the first person to accept Lainey and try to be nice to her and get her, like, and she encourages her about being prom queen. She never does. She's like in the mean girl group, but is not a mean girl. Not even close. She is as responsible for Lainey's rise as Zach.
And I think my biggest reaction to this movie was that it's simultaneously wish fulfillment for, I would believe the intended audience was teenage or pre-teenage girls, and derives, I think, something that's in common with a lot of movies of adolescence, which is kind of a false drama out of unmotivated meanness, which doesn't also, to me, ring true for adolescence. I think the pain of adolescence is one of alienation, isolation, and being ignored, as opposed to being targeted by dickheads, personified by the hilarious long oopsie water spilling scene.
Yeah.
Jodie Lynn O'Keefe's Taylor character is just spilling water on her for about 12 seconds, going, oops, uh-oh. That I agree. I find Gabriel Union's kindness refreshing.
Yeah. Actually, not that it matters, but I don't think that was water. I think that was an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah. Watching like these like high school movies, like Travis said, I was homeschooled. So I'm always like leaning over and I'm like, is this accurate? Are people why wouldn't she smack that drink out of her hand the first time she spilled it?
In this movie, much like the pube eating scene, it really, I feel like, wants you to assume that because someone is popular, they really do have power. And sort of as Adam put it in his explanation of what happens in the movie, Zach is the king of the high school. In sort of a literal sense. It's almost as if that royalty of being popular and being good looking is in itself a power that cannot be fought against. And an artistic choice that I also wanted to give the movie a big couple pats on the back for that Adam already referred to is the dream sequence stuff. When Taylor is recounting how she and Brock Hudson met and they themselves are walking through the memory.
I eat that shit up. I
really
love it when movies do that.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Which is such a stretch because they didn't need to have Freddie Prinze Jr. there on that day. They could have said, go home, you don't need to be here. But even having him in that scene, it's that extra step. It's a little bit of craft. I agree. I noticed that and kind of dug that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that they pick up on it later, as you said, with the scene in the real world, the dream sequence, the nightmare. A scene like all other scenes that Matthew Lillard kills. Okay, so before getting into the pitches, real quick, I wanted to go into other sequels that exist for this movie. An upcoming announced movie set to come out next year, we'll see, of course. He's All That, a remake to be directed by Mark Waters, director of Freaky Friday and Mean Girls, Cha-ching, starring Addison Rae. I don't know her, she's a TikTok star, so we'll see about that. And to be written by R. Lee Fleming Jr., the writer of She's All That.
Good for him.
Well, he probably went like, this is great. I already wrote this.
Her name will just be Zachy, and he'll be Lane. But yeah, I am curious to see how his style translates to a modern audience. It seems like he's going to need maybe another M. Night rewrite.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Okay, so then into the questions. Should this movie have a sequel?
No.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking, both of these questions are going to have pretty uninteresting answers. And then if you're going to do it, sequel or prequel, what's the sweet spot? I'm going to say sequel. Not much to find out in a prequel besides maybe about Lainey's mom, but she was a baby, so don't know what that would be.
Yeah.
Let me maybe kind of talk about the reason why this came to my mind. I think there's two. One is that it has a title that lends itself to sequel titles. They've already done He's All That. You'll hear my title. It's a declarative statement, and just like with Meet the Fockers, there's a lot of opportunity to add or adjust words or pronouns to make sequels. It also, like we've said, is so simple that, similar to Terminator, does, even though it's not needed, lend itself to that satisfying thing that sequels can do, using kind of Terminator 2 as an example of shifting everything a few degrees, into which now new characters are potentially in previous roles that they were in than before.
I think you're right. I think all of the characters in this movie, a big part of this movie is that none of them know exactly who they are yet, which is definitely a part of adolescence. And they're all sort of still, even when the movie ends, they are still forming themselves. There's no finality to the decisions that these characters make.
Obviously, actors age out, and it doesn't work in live action indefinitely. But I also was kind of struck by the fact that this movie was probably very cheap and made a lot of money, and the fact that it was never franchised, they easily could have said, "Hey, let's all go up to Vancouver. We got 6 weeks. Let's make another one." Even straight to VHS. I mean, even the fact that there were so many American Pie sequels shows that they were sort of doing it. But interesting that it was just sort of done in one. They left it alone until now.
Yeah,
a legacy.
I think it's as good a time as any to roll into the pitches. We got our studio exec ready. Do you, with all your power, want to decide who goes when, Travis?
Oh, no.
All right.
Let's do. I think I want to save Adam for. No, don't save him for last because he's got the. We'll save him for middle. Lauren wants to go first, so Paul.
Okay. Shouldn't
well.
Yeah.
That's what you get for forcing my hand. Yeah. You force my hand, it strikes.
Nobody forces the studio executive's hand, Travis.
You're going fourth just for that.
Okay.
Give you 20 minutes of silence before you can go.
I pick the silence. Oh, speaking of which, when I sent out the ringer thing and my note was "she's a lot." I'm glad you liked it. I just wanted to make sure to clarify that I wasn't saying that about Lainey. I think Lainey is a perfectly lovely character. I was just saying the movie is a lot.
I hadn't even considered that as a sequel title, but that just proves my point. There's so many possibilities. She's a lot. She's a lot.
Okay, Lauren, you ready?
Okay.
Look, I kicked her ass in 3rd grade. I'll do it again.
Starts the credits a la the original. We watch hands painting a painting, except this painting is kind of crap. Again, a la the original, we pan through a classroom. We see various styles of a still life. It's a basket of fruit. We stop on a subpar, simplistic painting. We spin around to reveal Lainey regarding the painting with a pained look. Zach pops up into frame next to her. What do you think?
Nice.
It's painting. Teacher calls class, tells everyone to have a good Christmas break, and reminds them that their final projects are due first day back. No excuses. I want to see the real you, Zach, she says.
Every art teacher.
Lainey and Zach go home for the holidays. Zach keeps picking fights with his father and his choice of school, but finds solace being back in town with his friends. Lainey is happy to see her family, but still doesn't gel with Zach's buddies. Lainey falls back into her reclusive art routine while Zach hangs out with friends, and Lainey worries that maybe that their romance is just like a high school fling and it's not going to survive in college. Zach's father invites Lainey and her family over for Christmas dinner, and a meltdown commences. Zach blows up at his father, then at Lainey when she interjects. Tempers continue to rise until Lainey and her family excuse themselves. Zach blames her father for their exit, accusing him of judging the Boggs' lower status and for being rude. Zach's father reminds Zach that he himself invited them over, and any illusion of classism is projected on Zach's end.
Classic Zach.
Zach realizes he's right, and he goes to apologize to Lainey. Lainey says Zach's been acting like an ass since they got home for Christmas, and that she needs some space. Montage of Zach looking sad, Lainey working on art and looking sad. Zach sad more. He looks to the empty canvas in his room for his final project. He starts to work on it, works on it more. Montage, he's working on it. We never see what's on the canvas. Zach's father comes to Zach, tells him he saw the painting. Zach defensively says, "Pretty crappy, huh?" And Zach's dad says it's a fine painting, that he's proud of him for choosing an art school, and that he should keep at it. It's a nice moment. Mm-hmm. Zach's dad asks him why he's home on New Year's Eve. Shouldn't you be somewhere, son? Zach grabs the painting and goes to Lainey's. He apologizes. Lainey, I'm not sure who I am yet, but I know I want to be the guy standing next to you. Oh. Zach shows Lainey the painting. It's of her, with him by her side, with the ring taped to the hand.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. All right.
Midnight bells chime. Lainey accepts the proposal. Yay. Bonus credits scene. Zach's painting earns a passing grade of a C.
What's the...
You have a title.
He's all that.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. I do like the role reversal. Lainey is the successful one in school. He's the one whose dad has to tell him to go out. It's interesting. I definitely took the line he says about considering art school into account, but I also took it as, you could take it either way. You could take it that he's going to follow that thread, or you could take it that he's joking. But it makes sense either way, because that character doesn't make decisions very easily.
Yeah.
He's a real Bella Swan.
Is he?
Kind of.
No, because I think she makes decisions too easily. That's my thing about
That's
Bella.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, we should do a trial.
I did realize I wanted to ask real quick, Lauren. Zach's buddies, who are we talking about? Is Dean still in the picture? Or we're talking more Preston vibe?
But yeah, I guess like the crew, the whole crew's back together.
Dean is maybe a better person now since he got deafened.
Yeah.
Oh, we can hang out with your brother.
All right. So then, Adam, I guess you're up.
I am ready when you guys are.
So, can I have the last dance?
Okay, so many of the decisions made in the casting and script writing of this film were made in an alternate universe circa 2000, 2001, considering who would be available, who would be too expensive, and who would be distracted from other projects. So I'm just going to go in with the title, and you can extrapolate based on that information, based on what characters are here. This movie is called She's All That Too, T-O-O. Tagline this time, all bets are off. We open in Sacred Heart High School, Los Angeles. Max Seiler is an outcast. We recall that's Anna Paquin's character from the first movie. She's sure of herself, but she's not accepted by others. She is, as she stated in the first movie, bored with going to school with 500 chicks. She is back at home. There's a shrine to her older brother, a former prom king, an all-star soccer player, and now king of the school at Yale. It's about 2 years later, so it's her senior year of high school. Mac's dad reminds her, honey, did you sign up for the SAT prep course? Sure, Dad, who could live up to her brother? Maybe it's better to not try at all. So we really see a young woman who, though confident, as we established in the first movie, just needs something, needs a sense of community. She is clearly needing some of that. So we cut to the Los Angeles High School for Creative and Performing Arts. Hab has just been defeated at the school's first art competition of the year, and he's also bored. Art is dead. He seems like anybody could be an artist. His rival, his ex-girlfriend, played by Catherine Isabel, star of Ginger Snaps, in her first American role, says, you want to bet? She asks, I bet that we can make anybody an artist by Christmas break. The bet is on. Now we have to find a contender. We have a montage of weird people, which we can get some notes on. And then we say, how about her? The Catholic school across the street? If she could be an artist, then the art world is doomed. We cut immediately to Mac, who he values honesty. As we've established in the first movie, honesty and art go hand in hand. He has immediately told her that there's a bet. He doesn't like secrets, and we bet that you could be an artist. She laughs it off. She takes it as a joke. Maybe I'll just do this to show them all up. So she goes home. She already has art supplies. She has tons of makeup equipment. She makes a painting. She goes to the art competition. She's in last place. Max Seiler, who cares? She tries to laugh it off. Hab comes by. He's supportive. We may recognize him. Possible casting either Hayden Christensen, who was also available at the time. So let's just picture Hayden Christensen for the purpose of things. But he's supportive. He says, I thought you did well, but I just didn't see anything in your art. Maybe next time. Max alone. She's isolated. No one showed up, not even any of her friends, not her dad. But then a familiar face, it's Lainey Boggs. She is still in LA, but as we learned from one of her rivals who now works as a student teacher at the school, it's Clea Duvall. She's back. She's still a bully. I thought I saw you selling paintings outside of that Chinese restaurant down in La Brea. She laughs her off. You're still a loser. Max says, Lainey, can you give me an honest opinion? What do you think of my art? And Lainey says, the problem isn't that it's bad art. It's that it's dishonest. It's a lie. There's nothing of you in it. I know well what it means to use art as a barrier to hide yourself, and you expose nothing of yourself. And that's when Mac finally realizes that she wants something. That's when she sees at the poster for the LA School District Interpretive Dance Competition. I'm doing it, she says, but only if you train me. That's when we transition into Act 2, when this movie starts to resemble Karate Kid, and that we have an art training montage of Lainey taking Mac to galleries, street theater, improv shows. She shows her how to move her way up. We see Mac doing better in small art competitions. We see Lainey shop, which is a few canvases. It's kind of embarrassing. We realize that though she learned the lesson of being honest, she maybe needs someone to support her. She's trying to do it alone. And as this movie will teach us, no one can be successful alone. Lainey reveals to her a dangerous technique called breaking the fourth wall, which she warns her that's only a last resort. You shouldn't do it. You're too inexperienced. If you do it, you could go nuclear and lose the entire competition. So forget about it. It's time for the semi-regionals. Lainey invites her dad. He's surprised she cares so much about something. Hab is there. He's amazing. He's like a local performance art hunk if there ever was one. That's when the rival character, we'll call her Monet, shows her art piece. It's just a spotlight shining on Mac. It's called Nothing Girl. Mac is devastated because she's finally trying and she's just getting laughed at by all these art snobs. But that's when her dad shows up. I never saw this side of you before, honey. He's really proud of her. Lainey reminds her that sometimes, as we learned from the first movie, when we open up the good parts of ourselves, we have to let the pain in too. Mac says, I never wanted anything before. I don't know if I should do this full competition. I think I'm going to get destroyed, but I want this and I don't know if I'm worth it. Am I? Am I worth all this? And Lainey looks at her and she says, you fucking bet. Third act, we cut to Christmas time. It's the Los Angeles, the big competition we've been moving up for. It's basically just the end of Karate Kid, but with interpretive dance. We get a bunch, montage again of Lainey moving up through easily defeatable rivals. Everyone is there to support her. Her dad, Lainey, her mentor. Interpretive dance competition montage. Mac's doing it. She even beats the mean girl who was so mean to her this whole time. And that's down to this one final competition. It's Mac versus Hab. Is she going to hold back and choose to be a lesser of a person to impress a boy? He's good, though. He's not going to hold back either. That's when she does it. Lainey says, oh, my God, what's she doing? She realizes it. The judge is realizing it. She's breaking the fourth wall. She's going full meta. The judges are amazed. Mac seems to be interpreting her entire life. A girl in the shadow of her brother, a girl making mistakes and getting kicked out of school. Now she's an artist. Now she feels seen. Oh my God, she's going into the future. She's imagining an ideal future that we know can never be. She's growing older, struggling. Her kids are artists. She's dying, a full life lived. All eyes go to the Russian judge. A single tear rolls down her face. A perfect score. She's done it. Max Seiler is the best artist in the world. Everyone is proud of her. Hab is proud of her. 2 months later, we cut to the LA High School for the Creative and Performing Arts. Hab is bored. He's still bored. Art is dead. But then he's joined in the hall by his new classmate and girlfriend, Mac. She goes there now. They kiss. They've come together. Mac travels to the new spot that she secured with some funding from Dad. It's a new art space that she shares with Lainey. Lainey's finally getting it together and learning to trust people. She just needed some help. No one can do it alone. And then someone shows up. Who is it? It's Freddie Prinze Jr. It's him. He's back. Zach's back. He was on his way back to Yale. He was there for Christmas break and just wanted to say he missed her. The girls in New York can't measure up to you. Lainey says the girls in LA don't measure up to you either. He sees an art piece. What's it called, he says. She says, a long story. The end.
Wow.
And that's what
Nice.
you said. You have a trilogy, right? There's another one coming.
But, I'm open to I want to work with the studio on this. I don't want to push too hard for it.
No. As the
Got
studio
it.
exec, I was told coming into this meeting, and maybe I had bad information from my assistant, Paul, that you had a trilogy in mind for these movies. So I guess that was just bad information on my part.
But hey, if you're open to it, I'm not going to say no.
Well, let's just say because I was expecting that, I did have the title in mind. I thought, I really hope the third one is called Three's All That.
Ooh.
So just, put that in your back pocket, let it percolate. I thought that was delightful. Paul, I really think we should not continue to have guests on who are this much better at pitching than we are. It's starting to make us look bad.
Oh, us. No. I think that was outstanding. I am. That was very impressive and very energetic, delightfully told. I was there. Yeah.
I prepared way too much. As you guys have seen on Zoom, I have a notebook. So I did a little looking around, and I can say you could probably expect the background of this as based on who's available right now. I know Zoe Saldana's around. I know that Ben Foster's around. He could probably play a good art school dude. I heard about this guy, James Franco. He definitely could fit in the background there somewhere.
Yeah.
There's an actress named Liz Kaplan who was on Freaks and Geeks, who I think we could find a part for. I think we could see if Usher's available. Not sure, but if not, we could probably find another. Maybe Cisco. He might be around. I heard he wants to do a teen movie.
Yeah.
And also, I think this universe precludes, obviously Anna Paquin doesn't do X-Men. And I don't think that Not Another Teen Movie exists either. I think this borrows the resources from that in a certain way. It also prevents 9/11.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole pitch, and also Anna Paquin being front and center. Her character was great. She was at her all-time most wonderful, lovely, charming in that era, in my opinion. And I would love to see that character, a lot more of that character. It was essentially doing S. Darko, but really, really well.
Let's hear your pitch, Paul. I'm really excited about
my
yours.
pitch.
Yeah, earthquakes. Right about now, we're gonna do that dance I taught you.
My pitch is a modern sequel, and the premise came from me wanting to be able to title it A Bag of Chips.
I could, yes, she's all in a bag of chips.
Yes. So at some point, some entertainment news person or something would have to say, she's all that, and its sequel, A Bag of Chips. And I just really like that idea.
I won't hold that against you. Let's hear what you've got.
Okay. Zach Seiler gets jury duty.
Great.
While he's waiting to be called in for jury selection, he goes to the vending machine where he sees a woman try to purchase a bag of chips that gets caught and doesn't fall. The woman shakes the machine, but no dice. She walks away in a huff. Zach purchases the same chips, gets both bags, then pursues the woman to give it to her. Turns out it's Lainey Boggs. The backstory here that we get filled in is that they broke up years ago after Zach followed her to art school, settling for a community college for himself so he could be in the same area. Ever aimless, he eventually dropped out and took a crappy office job in order to support Lainey's budding art career. Though these were all his choices, his resentment toward her for having made them is ultimately what ruined their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now as they catch up, Zach claims to have gotten himself together. He's a soccer coach, which is something he's always wanted to do. They get selected for the same jury in what is set to be a multi-week case. Lainey insists that they shouldn't talk while the case is going on, but Zach is not easily swayed. When we see his home life, it is revealed that he lied. He still works in the same crappy office job. He lives with his sister, Mac, crashes on her couch after a divorce. And the only soccer coaching he does is yelling at the TV. He is still completely incapable of making decisions. The only choice that was ever easy for him was Lainey. Lainey, meanwhile, owns her own art gallery, while Simon, her younger brother, now co-owns the pool cleaning business with Dad. So it's Dr. Pool and Son.
Aww.
Now, over the course of the trial, Zach and Lainey reconnect, much to the interest and, in some cases, annoyance of their fellow jurors. I want for there to be one scene in which the alternate, who has to stick around, every day, even though they're not actually on the jury, I want that to be sort of the person that Zach buddies up to. And I want Zach to be talking to him about Lainey and say, how much he wants to be back with her. And I want the alternate to say something like, I bet you could make that happen. And then Zach gets really offended and is like, you can't bet on stuff like this. These are people, blah, 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 blah. And then have the person be like, whoa, I was just saying, good luck. Or
Do you have a casting in mind for that character?
I didn't, but I'm going to say Michael Cera.
Oh, okay.
What the trial is about, I kind of want to keep it vague. It doesn't seem like it's anything super serious. It's just something like a landlord-tenant dispute or something, but it's got a lot of evidence and it's going to be going on for a while. Once deliberations begin, Zach fears things will wrap up too soon before he has a chance to win Lainey's heart. And so he argues against everyone, 12 Angry Men style, to keep it going. Because he keeps the trial going.
You gotta keep this trial going. It's my girl.
Because the trial keeps going on like this, outside of it, Zach loses his job because he's not going back to work. And this prompts him, along with influence from Lainey, to visit his old friend Preston, who is a successful college soccer coach, and ask him if he might give him a trial run being his assistant coach or something like that. Sort of like ask him for help. He's starting to get his life back together, getting his own place, making moves. Somehow, Lainey uncovers one of Zach's lies and confronts him, calling him out on prolonging the trial to get a shot that he never had with her. Devastated by this, Zach stays home the next day, prompting the alternate to step in, and then the trial is able to end. Sometime later, Laney finds Zach and sees that things are getting better for him. They talk things out and kiss. A few years go by of them being together, which gives Zach time to fully realize his own dreams of becoming a soccer coach. And we see Laney cheering for his team in the stands. That night, at their home, Zach gives her a bag of chips. She opens it to find an engagement ring inside.
That's great.
Nice. That's real good.
Before I decide the fates of all, remind me what my executive powers are here.
So you can do whatever you want. Like, I mean, I know this isn't what normally happens, but let's say we're all in the same room. We've all stood up with dioramas one by one, and now you can put us together. You can take this from my pitch, put it in his pitch. You can. I mean, I know we've got one modern and two direct, so that might be a little difficult. But.
You're in a temporal nexus of some point where different pitches from different time periods and different timelines have converged. So you are now in charge of the time-space continuum.
That sounds.
And you could also make a trilogy if you want. You know,
okay. I see.
And just keep in mind, if you don't greenlight my movie, you cause 9/11 to happen.
Well, I certainly am not going to be tampering with anyone's artistic visions or combining, or I'm not going to prune those hedges, because I think these were all really solid and true to their voice of the pitcher. Also, I think it's not as much fun if there's not losers, so there's definitely going to be some broken hearts. Paul, what I really like about your pitch is I think there's a lot of fun to be had in the courtroom, especially because I do love courtroom stuff. But if we're not going to, really get into what that trial is, every time we go to the courtroom, it can be some new weird joke.
I sort of saw it as being consistent with the way the first movie makes jokes.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of goofily from anywhere, wherever they are.
Yeah.
So I was thinking,
that's great.
I'd like to present evidence, example B, and that's just like a herd of penguins or something. Every time you see evidence, what is this crime?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
never know what the crime is.
I would want to do something where every witness that they call is some stunt casting actor, but then the final one, it is just whatever actor. That's just Hannibal Buress playing himself. What has he got to do with the crime?
And I certainly wouldn't want too much of the focus to be on the crime being very serious and the idea that these people's love story is going to ruin a man's life or something like that.
Of course. So. I really liked your pitch, Lauren, because it makes it a holiday movie, and there's no reason to do that, and I really think that's a lot of fun.
I notoriously, as you know, do not like pointless Christmas movies.
You do not like pointless Christmas movies, so this was quite an achievement for you.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously, Adam's got to be the clear winner.
That's about enough for this.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. No, excellent.
I am so relieved. I would have really been embarrassed to put that much effort in and lose. One thing I noticed was all of us either avoided or didn't include at all the idea of betting on someone's awareness of their status. All of us, there is deception in Paul's pitch, but none of us leaned into the idea that someone has made a bet of and then manipulated. That seemed to be something that all of us just steered away from, which I find interesting.
I did feel the need to reference the bet in some way.
I like that a lot. That was cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
I am with this studio exec here. I think you crushed it, buddy. I wish that movie was around. And honestly, Hayden Christensen, I scoffed, but I see him in it very comfortably.
He's still going to do Star Wars, but he squeezes this in. He's not, he has a central role, but he's not there that much.
What I like to think is that this movie will do so well that we will finally get that Jumper sequel I was promised. Dude, Jumper's dope.
No, it's not.
Wait. Because everybody loves She's All That Too so much.
Christensen's got heat. He's back. Stranger things have happened, guys.
These are the types of things that would happen if Travis was a studio exec. Jumper 2, Hayden Christensen a poppin'. It would be a different world. If everybody's okay with it, shall we move into Unsung Heroes?
Hit it, Paul Jr.
Unsung Heroes.
Yeah.
Have we got any? Yeah.
Oh, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Laney's pita hat.
I do have a little fun fact about that. It was made on the day with supplies from Michael's craft store.
It looked like it was cute. I mean,
yeah.
I could tell, like, I could go to Michael's right now and pick up what they used for that.
And funnily enough, that's the scene where I liked Lainey least because she was so rude to that customer.
She was like, finish up with the customer in a second and then go talk to the guy.
If you're going to be rude to one of the two people in this.
Yeah. Because I definitely feel like you're meant to accept Lainey as a person who is kind to those who deserve kindness. And but in that scene, she was needlessly rude. And I understand that she's having trouble computing the popular guy coming to see her type of thing, but it didn't play for me.
I liked her the least in that scene because I hate the working class.
I only have one. The scene where Dean is revealing his evil plan in the bathroom at prom. And Preston, who I included in my movie, and I also didn't say, it's like I remember so many characters in the movie and I didn't remember him, but he brings so much joy and charisma. So I feel bad for that. I really like that character. But he says, like, I feel a bet coming on, but Laney Boggs is not going to give you any. He says that line.
Yeah.
So then he leaves, and then Dean is like still trying to save face. He's like, whatever, man, I'm going to get some or whatever. And then that other guy walks by and just scoffs at him. That guy is an unsung hero. Really added to that moment. I also love that he didn't even look like a jock. He just looked like a regular kid, and he got to laugh in Paul Walker's face, which I really liked. I would say my favorite bit in the whole movie was Kevin Pollak giving incorrect Jeopardy answers.
God.
He's so funny. Yeah, that was great.
I
What's that?
Loved the kid who's cleaning who finally gives a correct answer. The way he delivered it, like he's just been so frustrated with this guy for confidently muttering the wrong answers.
Apparently that joke is an ongoing joke of Kevin Pollak's that he did as a character in a 1997 movie called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Never seen that movie, never heard of it, but it's apparently a joke that Kevin Pollak just brought from that into this movie.
Well, now we need to look into Kevin Pollak's stand-up history and see if that's like one of his...
It's a solid bit. I only one of them didn't hit for me, which was the Marx brother, and he guessed lame-o, which I hated that because it was like, okay, well, that's not a real answer. What I want is you to be wrong and earnest every time, not just saying things. But every other one of them got every other
what
one.
Was your pitch for a joke Marx brother answer?
Oh, I wouldn't say joke Marx brother. I would just say the wrong one. I would just say Groucho or Chico, and then it turns out to be Harpo. I think the earnestness is important. Like, the answer needs to sound like he believes it is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And then it's just never correct. Okay, guys. Well, this was great. You did some great execing.
That's how I do it when I'm in power. Benevolent, but firm.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all going to be cut. Let's get into the wrap up. Thanks for listening. Thank you guys as always for your time. Be safe and think of others if you could, please. Yeah.
Always very nice advice.
And if you do have any pitch ideas for threes, all that, write in.
Definitely.
This was a lot of fun. I'm really glad that you were able to remember my pitch a few months ago and find time for it. Look forward to keep listening and maybe come back in a few months with another idea sometime.
Hey, man, thank you for writing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. It's just great to see you in general. I'm sorry.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sorry I said your profession wrong. That was really rude of me. Sorry I didn't know where you lived. Lots of things I'm not proud of here, but you're still the same great guy that I remember as far as I can tell.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I am now going to not spend the next week emotionally investing in an imaginary sequel to a teen movie I don't like from 21 years ago.
Well, I got to tell you, you sold it so well, and you even sold to me that you liked the movie or at least saw a lot in it that not a lot of people give it credit for. So I'm intimidated to have you back. just likes Travis for the sake of making us sound bad.
Step up your game, guys.
Yeah.
Smash that like button and subscribe.
Oh yeah, I gotta do more of that.
On the next follow-up Showdown.
Let's get into what movie we're talking about today. Beetlejuice. We're joined by Zach and Becca White.
We did all feel the connection to the Maitlands. And I'm like, wait, did we die in March?
That's a very good
I have
possibility.
asked that question many times.